Next topic of conversation. This is going to be an interesting one because this just popped up to me while I was watching anime. I was watching a video on YouTube about isekai anime, and it was an interesting endeavor about the history of the genre, and it made me think, why aren't there more video games based on that concept of isekai? And for people who don't know what that is, an isekai anime is pretty much just means other world. Pretty much the main character of the story is transplanted to another world, or elements of this other world are brought into his world or his or her world, and shenanigans happen. Some of the most popular anime out there, like right now, Konosuba, Sword Art Online, stuff like that. And then we do have some video games that, I know it seems like though the majority of the isekai, the popular isekai anime in this day and age are really ones that revolve around video games. But
kind of, sort of.
I mean,
so
go ahead.
I'll give you a little bit of better. So isekai basically is the Japanese word for another world, which is a subsect of sekai, which actually means the world. So what ends up happening generally is you get shows like Gate, you get shows like Shield Hero, you get stuff like Reincarnated in Another World as a Slime, which are like 3 more recent ones that have all been super popular. Konosuba is another one. ReZero, Starting Over in a World by Death.
That Shield Knight one.
Yeah, Shield Hero. That's the one. So
Magic
a lot
Knight
of
Ray
these...
Earth.
I mean, wait, throwback. 4? 95?
Yeah.
The concept basically is that specific characters are pulled from their world either by an accident or through some magical means of summoning to another world entirely.
Escaflowne.
The baseline of the characters is that they generally show up with almost no ability or no real power. More recently, though, a lot of these have started to sort of emulate video games in their concept, like Slime or Shield Hero or...
Yeah, Shield Hero is absurdly video gamey.
Oh, very. There's a couple of other ones that I'm not sure. They're mostly like manga right now. I don't know if they actually have an anime or if they have an anime that's actually in the works that hasn't released yet. I know there's another one that's actually starting this season in the summer called Isekai Cheat Magician. Again, it's Isekai as an anime genre is absolutely massive right now. But Isekai in outside of the manga anime world as an actual video game is pretty slim to none. Like they're so far and few between. So that's sort of why we want to discuss it today, is because at this point we have a lot of anime and manga that are isekai, but where are the video games for it? Like, we want to be able to play in those kind of worlds as those characters.
Yeah, so I was looking up video games that could be considered isekai, and I went as far back.
I went and I looked that up too, and I'm not really sure how much you want as far as that sort of thing goes.
Well, I was trying to do with the other world things, like getting pulled into the other world and all that stuff. And some of the earliest games I can look up for is like Monster Party on the NES, Astyanax, the Valis series, Out of This World, and Nights into Dreams.
Out of This World was a really good one too.
Yeah,
that I think was probably one of the more popular ones. That was like sort of where the idea for the genre kind of like kicked off. Like, I think that was really where the idea of MC from our world or modern world is removed and put into a completely different world, and I think that's really kind of a good starting point.
Yeah, and a couple.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, what I'm asking is, like, I don't know how many, are we looking for this to be as prevalent in gaming as it is in anime? Because I mean, like, I was able to find like 20 games/franchises that do this, and I looked for 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we're also...
like, I mean, like, you got Ni no Kuni 2. Final Fantasy X, Tactics Advance and Tactics Advance 2,
Mhm.
Stranger of Sword City, Brutal Legend, a couple of the
Mhm.
Breath of Fire games, Star Ocean Till the End of Time, Brave Story, New Traveler, Dragon Quest 3, Out of This
Mhm.
World, The Dig, the
Mhm.
original Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, where they not
Mhm.
only draw you out, but they turn you into a Pokemon.
Mhm.
Mist and the games around that. Ultima,
Mhm.
literally the avatar is just a guy who gets pulled into the world of Ultima.
Yeah.
The Persona franchise to varying different degrees. The Longest Journey, Valis, as you said, and kind of sort of Silent Hill to a certain extent.
And then here's other games I've looked up as that I've played from experience. Like there's The Lost Child, Blue Reflection, Fantasy Star Online
The
2.
Lost Child is no, I don't think so.
Well, you do venture into other worlds. I mean, granted, it's like dimensional, but it's on the line. You got
It's
games.
in the wheelhouse.
Yeah, you got like Epic
Yeah, and that's
Mickey.
not even including like the licensed games like your Dot Hack, your Magic Knight Rayearth, your Sword Art Online games.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like
So it's I guess I just don't think
Assassin's
it's
Creed.
that much of Assassin's Creed. I
So
don't
I think,
think
yeah,
it's that
that's-
much of an issue.
I
I think
mean-
there's not as many games as there are animes based
Mhm.
around it.
yeah,
But
that's what I'm saying. Is like we
like
have
Sword Art Online only really became popular in 2013.
yeah.
Right. And that was only because of the influx of people who were interested in what it was about, especially the first season, because of like other stuff that was leadingly popular, like Dot Hack, because it was that trapped in a video game / death game style mentality. And I think Dot Hack was really what pushed SAO to be as popular as it is, because of the intrigue and the ideal behind what, caught in a death game online, caught in an alternate world that if you die you die in the game, you die in real life. It was that whole meme really kind of started because of Dot Hack and a couple of other games that were sort of a little bit before that too, but were really part of that whole reason why SAO became as popular as it did.
Now I was looking up some stuff. Like when did the whole genre begin? And apparently, like in manga, it began in the late 70s. I forget the name of the title. And the first anime was in like 81, 82 to incorporate it. And as you can see, like some of the earliest video games were like late 80s to like maybe mid 90s, and they were very sparing. Like the list of games I mentioned right there, from Monster Party all the way to Magic Knight Rayearth for a licensed game, was pretty much it. It wasn't until Dot Hack came out that I feel that like there was a boom in terms of Isekai like themed games that like blew up. Like Mark mentioned, like there was like 20 games, and this is all in the last like 15 years or so.
Right.
But it still pales in comparison to the gobs of like almost 30 years worth of content that there is for the Isekai genre itself. And so it's like, I mean, even if you don't base it on something that's like a manga or an anime, I mean, there's still like, I mean, you can even look at some games like, let's say, like I mentioned, Epic Mickey and the Kingdom Hearts franchise, which are kind of like Isekai themed in a way.
Yeah.
Like, you can definitely create your own original ideas, as we saw, and it just seems like maybe... I mean, here's what I think. I think the reason why there aren't as many Isekai games is because the player mindset is, I'm already in another world because I'm playing the game. Like,
Right.
I'm playing Oblivion. Why should I have to play a character in Oblivion who's now in another world? I mean, I can understand that. It seems kind of far-fetched, but...
Kinda. I feel like isekai as a genre, when it comes to how the medium itself is actually like consumed, I feel is like it's meant to be more of a passive take. Like, you're supposed to be the watcher. You're watching somebody else have their life turned around and plucked out of modern society or from a place and put into another place by a god, or because of death, or because some sort of spirit felt sorry for them. Another really solid example of isekai that was unique, that and there's always going to be salt. There is no game, no life. The concept is that these two kids were basically like gaming geniuses, and then all of a sudden somebody comes to them through a chess match and says, you always feel like you were never meant to be here, and they pluck them out of their world and transports them to this everybody only solves conflicts through games. The concept of isekai is that you are watching someone else's life get changed, not the other way around.
I got it, Jan. Don't worry. Oh, never mind.
It's fine. I'm fast. It's fine. So like, it's hard to really think about beyond what's actually in the anime and manga, because they take so heavily from video games in the way the characters are interactable, and how people like have like inventory screens and all these other crazy things that happen, where you're kind of like, oh, that's a thing. But it usually doesn't translate as well the other way around, where it's the video game that as the format. Like, does that make sense? Like, the video game as the format is a playable format versus a watchable format. That's usually where that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, and I can see how certain things, work out. Like, you look at Dot Hack and the Sword Art Online video games, and they do work out, and they're more fleshed out, and, to some extent, Fantasy Star Online too, when they fucked it up. But it's, But what is it that really sucks people in the most? Is it just the story elements? Because, I mean, you can really use these strong story elements to great effect in a video game, I think. Especially when you have more time to flesh it out, as opposed to, let's say, a 13-episode, season that we've been getting lately with a lot of these isekai. Mark, your thoughts?
Give me a second, I'm chewing.
Big Lead Chew?
No, Reese's Pieces.
Is that your go-to candy bar? All right, Reese's Pieces, yeah.
I was going to say, wait a minute.
No, Reese's does make a candy bar, though.
If you're getting Reese's Pieces in bar form, I don't want to tell you how to live your life, but maybe take the candy out of your pocket for a while before you eat it, is all I'm saying.
Oh. Wow.
No, Reese's does make a candy bar. It's just, that's what popped into my head, and I was just like, I completely omitted the Pieces part.
Yes. But I mean, it's, I can't really have, like, chocolate, so you take what you can get, more or less. But I mean, my thing is I do definitely agree that the isekai genre, yes, they do have the pieces and other candy bars. I saw them with the Hershey bars, but I eat them by themselves. You weird man.
Hey Zig, how you doing?
But yeah, so I definitely do feel there is something to be said for the narrative structure of isekai not really translating very well to video games, just because, you are a person who is playing as a person who's playing in another world. It's like there's multiple levels of disconnection from that core narrative concept, such that I can definitely see that would be a thing where maybe video game developers don't care for it as much. I did also see that there's a bunch more that have come out in Japan that have not come to the US. So I think that it may also just be a case where there are more than we think, but we're not seeing them because isekai is not a popular genre in the US. Sword Art Online, got over kind of sort of like well in the US, but there's not exactly a ton of popular anime doing that in the US as far as that goes. Like there's not crap loads of anime that are doing the thing as far as that goes. And I mean, anime is more popular now than it has been in, decades at this point, but it still also is, like, it's less popular than your superhero genre. It's less popular than a bunch of other stuff. So it may just be a case where Isekai is at like a 10 in Japanese popularity and like a 6 in US popularity. So they're seeing more of that genre in Japan than they are in the US because the demand for it is large.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my big question here is there, I mean, yeah, with anime, getting more popular now in the West, in the Western markets here, and you got those adaptations like Alita that you did well, and you got Akira on the way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's a possibility that there might be, let's say, an adaptation for the big screen for like an isekai, like a popular isekai, like let's say maybe just throw it out there theoretically, go and say Magic Knight Ray Earth. Do you think that might get more people interested in the genre outside of the people who already watch the anime, and maybe there would be more of a boom and interest for that in a video game sense?
No,
No.
no. Because you're making a lot, like, that statement, while I understand where you're going with it, that statement is doing a lot of fucking work to get from point A
yeah.
to point Z there. For one thing, against you, it's just like, I get where you're going with it, but the idea works only in a vacuum. Like, the first thing to keep in mind before we go any further forward, Battle Angel Alita did not make a lot of money
Mm-mm.
as a movie. And there could be any one of a number of different reasons for that. The visual aesthetic of the Alita makeup that they did, like the CGI that they did, was kind of weird and off-putting. Seeing it in advertisements,
Mm-hmm.
it was trying to compete with the superhero genre as a big spectacle piece, and it wasn't necessarily equipped to the task, et cetera, et cetera. But in general, live action anime just does not do particularly well in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, let's be clear here. I don't care for it. I don't think it's a good idea in general. Even if Alita was a solid movie by all indications, the Death Note live action thing on Netflix was shit. The live action Fist of the North Star film was shit. The live action Dragon Ball film was shit. The live action Ghost in the Shell film.
Ooh.
I could keep going, but you get my point. Like, one good westernized live action film does not justify all the rest of them. So we're starting from Alita didn't make any money. Live action anime movies generally don't do particularly well. Live action anime movies are generally not very good.
Mm-mm.
But then on top of all of that,
But then again, most
you're
live
talking
action
about-
animes aren't backed by Peter Jackson, so.
I mean, Alita was backed by James Cameron, so
Yeah, that's what I meant. I don't know why I said.
Yeah,
Peter
James
Jackson.
Cameron and Robert Rodriguez. Yeah.
Yes,
like
Rodriguez.
they had solid backing, and for what it was worth, the movie did well-ish. I enjoyed it for what it was.
$400 million on an expected budget, on an expected make back of around $350 million. It barely made a profit, by all indications. Like, I was literally just reading about that today. It's the only reason why I have those numbers off the top of my head.
Well,
but it barely made a profit. Now, it may do well through streaming and through DVD, but you don't put $350 million make back into a film that's going to do well as a niche property. Like, they like the movie was almost certainly a disappointment, or it would have been if Fox were still an existent film distribution group now. But again, like, my point here is that, okay, just for all of that, it's behind the gun. But then we're talking, like, you take Ray Earth, films built for a female audience, even now, generally tends to have one of two major problems. They are either secretly meant for teenage boys, or they are shit on by the audience that they're not actually made for. So you're talking about like there's some isekai you could probably make a live action for, but if we're taking Ray Earth just as an example,
Mm-hmm.
that movie
That's
has a
not a
50-50
good.
chance of either being, fucking Sucker Punch, but with magical girls, or getting shit on by every fucking dipshit on the internet who has like more of a neckbeard than I do and 3 different trilby hats.
Lady. So to counter sort of, and again, I'm probably playing a devil's advocate here, just purely on my own personal bias. I actually liked Alita as a movie. It was better than the one-shot anime they did in the 90s, because let's be honest, that was crap.
Well, yeah, everything I've heard indicates that it's a pretty good movie.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. And I'm pretty sure that home sales and streaming sales are definitely going to make it even more, at this point, more profit than what it was. If, as a counterpoint, however, I would also like to point out that there is a second movie that did fairly well considering, and it would be also remiss to not talk about like the fact that it's both a game and anime sort of crossover idea in terms of where it's coming from in Detective Pikachu. On a budget of 150 million, it made 429.1 worldwide. So again, franchise is important. If you take something that's small or relatively unknown or more niche, like Ghost in the Shell, like Alita, like heaven forbid Magic Knight Ray Earth, where a lot of people just don't remember it or are probably too young to have ever actually seen it originally, probably isn't going to do very well. But you take something that's got a bigger property, you take something that's going to have a much larger footprint and put it into the hands of people who not only care about the franchise but also want to see it succeed, like they did with Detective Pikachu. And you have a recipe for success. You have a recipe for something that could do very well.
All right, so
I'm
pretty
worried
much
about Akira. I'm super worried about Akira, because it is probably one of the most well-known movies that are, in the anime vein.
Yeah. Before we
There
get
are
too off
probably
topic
better
talking
pop-
about,
no.
anime movies though. So in hindsight, pretty much like let's say an anime or isekai anime or manga adaptation into like a Western film studio would not help isekai game genre grow, pretty much.
Not necessarily.
Well, even only option you've really got is Sword Art Online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people in the West who are like, fuck Sword Art Online, fuck everything it stands for. It's
Yeah.
the worst goddamn piece of shit ever fucking made. I never fucking want to see that shit again. Fucking anime, just what, the shit that you always see whenever something becomes popular. Right? I think that there would probably be a lot of negative. You would have the group of people who are like, never will I ever see anything that has anything to do with this, and also the people who are like, don't ruin my favorite thing ever, you motherfuckers. So I think that making a big budget isekai film would be not the best idea in general, but if they could pull it off, and if it was good, maybe we'd start seeing more interest in that in the US. But I can't a lot of ifs to get to, so I feel like odds are good that isekai is just going to remain a niche franchise, narratively speaking, in US gaming.
Okay.